October 5th, 2017, the New York Times publishes a massive investigation. One name was at the center: Harvey Weinstein. Within weeks, Hollywood would never be the same again. More than 80 women came forward with stories about him. Actresses, assistants, and producers, all telling the same pattern. Same tactics, same threats, same man. For over 30 years. And everyone in Hollywood already knew. But this isn't just about one predator. This is about the system that protected him for decades. The NDOs, the secret settlements, and the enablers who stayed silent. For years, the women tried to speak up. They were silenced, paid off, and completely ignored. Until 2 reporters refused to stop digging, and the dam finally broke. The scandal destroyed Weinstein, but exposed something bigger. How Hollywood protected monsters for profit. How power bought silence and fame created immunity. Silence wasn't ignorance, it was a business decision. This is the complete story of the scandal that changed everything. Let's start with the man at the center. Harvey and Bob Weinstein started Miramax Films in 1979. They named the company after their parents, Miriam and Max. It began as a small indie distributor with big dreams. By the 1990s, Harvey Weinstein became Hollywood's ultimate kingmaker. Want an Oscar? You work with Harvey. Want box office success? Harvey makes it happen. He could launch careers overnight, or destroy them completely. Pulp Fiction, Good Will Hunting, and Shakespeare in Love. All Harvey productions. Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture in 1998, controversially beating Saving Private Ryan. The campaign he ran for that Oscar win became legendary and ruthless. He also won 7 Tony Awards for Broadway shows. Disney bought Miramax for $80 million, and Harvey became untouchable. But his nickname told another story: Harvey Scissors. He would re-edit films without permission from directors. Directors called it artistic rape. He called it business. He was known for screaming fits, throwing objects, and destroying anyone who challenged him. Everyone in Hollywood feared him because fear meant power. That power opened many doors for him. Private meetings, hotel rooms, and so-called script discussions. But behind those closed doors, power became something much darker. It started back in the 1980s. And it never stopped. Same script, different victims, over and over again for decades. Assistants were called to his hotel room, always alone. Actresses were promised major roles, in exchange for silence. Young women who trusted him and desperately needed him for their careers. The pattern was calculated and repeated constantly. A private meeting arranged under professional pretenses. An isolated location, hotel room or office after hours. The door would close, and the real meeting would begin. Inappropriate requests followed by coercion and threats. This is how Hollywood works. Everyone does it. You want to work, don't you? Then came the final step. This never happened. Sign this. Here's money. But here's the most disturbing part. It wasn't hidden. People in Hollywood knew what was happening. Assistants warned new hires and agents told clients to avoid him. Some agents sent young actresses to him anyway, knowing exactly what would happen. The Whisper Network tried to protect women, but whispers don't stop predators with power. So how did he get away with it for 30 years? Money, fear, and a system designed to protect him. Every time someone spoke up, Weinstein had a ready solution. Non-disclosure agreements, also known as NDAs. Legal contracts that bought and enforced complete silence. Victims faced an impossible choice. Sign the NDA, take the money, and stay silent forever. Or fight back, lose your career, and get blacklisted from Hollywood. Most people signed because fighting meant losing everything. The settlements were confidential, often 6 figures, sometimes 7. Zelda Perkins, his former assistant, got £125,000 but couldn't even tell her therapist. Legal teams drafted ironclad silence clauses that victims couldn't break. HR complaints? They were buried and disappeared? Company leadership? Harvey was the company. He controlled everything, but NDAs weren't his only weapon. Private investigators followed women and threatened them directly. Black Cube, former Israeli intelligence officers, were hired to dig up dirt on victims. Journalists digging into stories were intimidated and discredited publicly. This wasn't just one man acting alone. This was an organized operation designed to silence everyone. For decades, the system held perfectly strong. But in 2017, two reporters started digging deep, and they absolutely refused to stop. Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey from the New York Times started investigating. Ronan Farrow from The New Yorker joined the hunt independently. NBC had killed Farrow's story earlier. Too risky, too powerful a target. They heard rumors and started asking serious questions, and they discovered systematic horror. Their sources were terrified to speak. NDAs, legal threats, and career destruction awaited anyone who talked. But the reporters kept digging for months. They found confidential settlement agreements proving the pattern. Financial records showing systematic payoffs over decades. 8 settlements documented. And those were just the ones with paper trails. Testimonies from assistants, actresses, and company employees. And even audio recordings. Weinstein caught on tape. Weinstein knew the reporters were coming. He hired private investigators to follow them. He threatened sources directly and tried to kill the story. But the reporters had too much evidence. October 5th, 2017, The New York Times published, "The bomb dropped on Hollywood." October 5th, 2017, The New York Times published the investigation. The headline, "Harvey Weinstein paid off sexual harassment accusers for decades." Decades of allegations laid out in devastating detail. Financial settlements and company complicity exposed. The pattern was undeniable. 5 days later, The New Yorker published Ronan Farrow's investigation. Even more women, more details, and actual audio recordings. 13 women in one article with allegations spanning 30 years. Ashley Judd, Rose McGowan, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Angelina Jolie, all named publicly. Big names with brave voices. Within days, the floodgates opened completely. Women who'd been silenced for years finally started speaking. Publicly, courageously, and most importantly, together. By the end of October, over 80 women had come forward. One article didn't destroy Weinstein. It revealed how many people protected him. The Weinstein Company fired him immediately, and a hashtag started spreading everywhere. #MeToo. Throughout October 2017, the list kept growing daily. Actresses, assistants, models, and journalists all coming forward. Over 80 women telling the same story about the same man. Some were famous names everyone recognized. Some were unknown women the world had never heard of. But now, they spoke publicly. On October 8th, 2017, the Weinstein Company fired him. The Academy expelled him from membership. BAFTA suspended his membership completely. Hollywood turned on him fast, like he never existed. But the scandal wasn't just about Weinstein anymore. Other names started emerging across the industry. Kevin Spacey, Louis C.K., Matt Lauer, all facing allegations. The reckoning spread like wildfire. A movement was born from survivor courage. 2 words tweeted by millions worldwide. #MeToo. October 15th, 2017. Actress Alyssa Milano sent a powerful tweet. If you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write "Me Too" as a reply to this tweet. Within 24 hours, 12 million posts appeared worldwide. But the phrase wasn't new. Activist Tarana Burke originally coined it in 2006. But in October 2017, it exploded everywhere. And it wasn't just Hollywood anymore. Politics, media, business, tech, and sports, every industry faced reckoning. Powerful men started falling one after another. Women were speaking up, and finally being believed. The Weinstein scandal became the Weinstein effect globally. One man's exposure triggered complete global reckoning. Decades of enforced silence broken in weeks. Public consequences happened fast. But criminal justice? That took much longer. May 25th, 2018, New York City. Harvey Weinstein was officially arrested. He was charged with rape and sexual assault. For decades, he had escaped legal consequences. Settlements, NDAs, and threats kept him safe. But now he was in handcuffs. February 24th, 2020, the New York trial verdict came. Guilty on 2 counts, criminal sexual act and third-degree rape. His sentence, 23 years in prison. December 19th, 2022, the Los Angeles trial verdict followed. Guilty again on rape and sexual assault charges. Sentence on 16 more years added. But in April 2024, New York's highest court overturned his conviction. Procedural errors led to a retrial being ordered. The retrial is pending as of January 2026. Weinstein remains imprisoned on the Los Angeles conviction. But the legal battle isn't the real story. The real story is what he exposed about Hollywood. This scandal wasn't about one man. This was about an entire system. A system that enabled, protected, and rewarded predators. For 30 years, people in Hollywood knew. Executives, agents, board members, and assistants all knew. And they did nothing. Why? Because Weinstein made money, won Oscars, and had power. Company HR covered up complaints. Lawyers drafted NDAs specifically to silence victims. Disney owned Miramax during alleged abuse and did nothing. Private investigators harassed survivors using company money. The scandal exposed uncomfortable truths about Hollywood. Hollywood valued profit over people's safety. Power bought silence from everyone. Survivors were treated as problems to manage, not people to protect. The exposé won the Pulitzer Prize for journalism. Weinstein went to prison. But the real question, did Hollywood actually change? After Weinstein, Hollywood publicly promised reform. New policies, harassment training, and safer workplaces. Time's Up was founded, raising $24 million for legal defense funds. But are things really different? Some things did change. NDAs became harder to enforce in harassment cases. Survivors were believed more often. The culture shifted, slightly. New York and California passed laws limiting NDAs. Many companies adopted zero-tolerance policies, but powerful men still work in the industry. Still get second chances. Weinstein is in prison, but the system that enabled him? Still largely intact. As of January 2026, Weinstein remains incarcerated. Appeals are ongoing and health is declining. He'll likely die in prison. But how many others are still protected? The scandal exposed Hollywood. But did it fix Hollywood? Or just reveal how broken it always was? Harvey Weinstein didn't create the system that protected him. He just exploited it perfectly. Power, silence, money, and fear. Hollywood built that machine. Weinstein just used it better than anyone. We focus on the monster. But the real horror? Everyone who enabled him for decades. The assistants who scheduled those meetings knowing what would happen. The lawyers who drafted NDAs to silence victims. The executives who ignored every complaint. One man went to prison. But the system barely changed. Because the problem wasn't just Harvey Weinstein, the problem was, and is, power without accountability. No cross-examination for enablers. No consequences for those who knew. Just one villain taking the fall. Over 80 women spoke up publicly. Careers were risked and trauma was relived. They broke the silence that protected him. And for a moment, the world listened. October 5th, 2017. One article changed everything. Within weeks, Hollywood would never be the same. The scandal didn't just destroy one man. It exposed an entire industry's dark truth. So did #MeToo actually change Hollywood? Or did it just reveal how deep the rot goes? You decide. But one thing is certain. The silence is broken. Harvey Weinstein is 73 years old now. He's sitting in a California prison serving decades. He'll likely die there, never walking free again. The man who once ruled Hollywood, completely destroyed. This is what the scandal exposed. 30 years of abuse enabled by NDAs, settlements, and fear. Over 80 survivors who spoke despite the cost. A global movement, #MeToo, that spread worldwide. Criminal convictions, likely life in prison, and most importantly, Hollywood's complicity. If this showed you how power protects itself, subscribe. We cover the stories that expose broken systems, because one scandal can change everything. So has Hollywood really changed since Weinstein? Or is the system still protecting powerful men? Drop your answer below.